Welcome everyone to Trainwreck Comic Fandom for Life. This is an adults-only channel. I am your host, Joe Vitson. I am an aspiring comic book writer, a digital inker, and almost 40-year fan of what we call comics. And there's been a lot of news over the weekend about comics, specifically the mainstream when it comes to DC Comics. Apparently, Warner Brothers is cutting a lot of the fat out of DC. We're seeing a lot of high level positions. Um, People are being fired. I don't know what this really means for the company. I don't really care personally. I don't really follow the mainstream that much, but that was the big news this weekend, and it does kind of make me wonder, what will DC Comics become in the future? Hopefully they change things around and they get themselves back on a winning track. But we're not going to worry too much about that because I want to spotlight some comics that I've been reading. And for that, I got to turn on my camera and you get to see my lovely face, all you lucky people who may or may not be watching. So that's me. Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well on this Tuesday. I'm going to go over some comics that I've had for a while. I just got to read today, actually. I got up early this morning and I said, well, I'm going to do some studying, some research so I can put on a show. And so here we go. The first book is Nora Saga 2. This is the second issue of Nora Saga from Allegiance Arts. Blake Northcott is the writer. Kelsey Sandon does the artwork. And I have to say, like with artwork like this, I hope you can see it. This is my favorite book from Allegiance Arts so far. I love Kelsey's work. Blake Northcott, I don't know a lot about her, but I do know she's crafting a wonderful story. And like I said, if you can just check out the art here, the best I can. I gotta get myself a camera, but I gotta get my views up, my subscribers up before I kind of make that leap. So I just finished this today. It's really good. Like I said, it's one of probably the top book for me out of Allegiance Arts. Those can be picked up at Walmart. They should be coming out with issues 3 for their 4 books come September, I believe. The second book, Red Rooster. I know a lot of people have some polarized views on this book. This book was crowdfunded. The backers never got their books. Now the book is being cut up into these floppies and being sold at Walmart. So I didn't back this campaign. I wasn't a part of CG at that time. The writers, Mitch Breitweiser and Mark Pellegrini, and then Mitch Breitweiser does the pencils and inks, and then I believe his wife Elizabeth does the coloring. I do like this book. I like this book just because it's kind of an old-fashioned, old-timey kind of superhero story. I think I like the artwork. I think the artwork's really good. I think the story's very good. But I know that a lot of people are just kind of really not happy with the Breitweisers when it comes to this book. But this is about my second favorite book out of the 4. I'm kind of showing them to you in the order of my preference. Next book, Bass Reeves, is actually based on a real marshal back in the wild west days. Don't know if you can see it very well because of the shine from the lights. I'm sorry. Like I said, I got to get a better setup, but I can't really do that until I kind of start growing my channel. This is written by Kevin Grevaux, and the artist is Dave Williams. I love the artwork in this book. It's a little bit cartoony-ish. But David Williams does a great job on the artwork. It's kind of hard. I'm showing it to you while I'm trying to look past it just to see what the picture is that you're seeing. But yeah, I think this is just a really great book. This is a really fun read. You don't even have to be a Wild West fan or anything like that. But the story's really good, and the fact that it's based on a real person, I just think it brings it to another level. The next book, The Futurist. This is probably my least favorite book out of them all. The story's good, the art's good. It's just not really that appealing to me, I guess. Um, Written by Patrick Stiles, Butch Geis is the artist. Rick Magar is the inker. And let's see, Allegiance Color Lab with Gabriel El Tayeb is the colorist. I know Gabe's work from Young Justice. He's a pretty good colorist, and I think he does a good job on this book. And I'll try to show off the art a little bit here again. There we go. See if I can peek around. It's good artwork, and it's a decent story. It's not what really interests me the most. I don't know if I'm going to get the third book. I've been trying to get them just to support Allegiance Arts. I think it's great to have comics in Walmart that aren't from the mainstream. So I try to support them. I understand, like I said, people aren't happy, especially those who backed it on Indiegogo, that they didn't get their book before they decided to put it in Walmart. But that's just the way it goes, I guess. So here's one I got too. It's from Dave Brinks, Paul Roderick, Daniel Rodriguez, with lettering by HDE. It's called Perfect 10. The links should be in the description for the Indiegogo campaign. It's still active. When I first opened this book, I didn't know what to expect from it, but I think I really like the art style. Beautiful woman hero there, strong, sexy. That's a problem in mainstream comics, but and this page right here, this really reminded me a lot of Joe Madureira, who I'm a big fan of. I thought this was great. A nice splash page. And the second page. Yeah, there's nothing but action in this book, I have to say. I mean, it's it tells the story, but then it doesn't bore you with the story so much. A lot of dialogue, a lot of talking, explaining things. They kind of explain things as the action's going on, for the most part, and you get some history about what's going on in the book. The one thing that did strike me about this book was the story actually reminded me, I don't know if anyone remembers here, but Top Cow had a book called Aphrodite 9. I think it was created by Dave Finch, where he was at least co-creator of the book, where she was an assassin that they would send her on missions, and then once the mission was over, they would wipe her memory. Same premise in this book. The only thing that really bugs me about this book, though, and I try not to talk bad about any of the books I get, and I've been, most of the books have been really good, but the story cuts off, and then you get all these pages of pinups. It's nice to have people draw your characters, and you get to show off their art and everything as well. But I would rather these pages have been story. So that's my only issue with the book. And the book is relatively cheap. I think it's only maybe $10, maybe $15. It's still on Indiegogo. And then they send you a second. I got a second book anyways. I guess it's another property from Genuine Comics. It's called Earthling 269 Vegan Warrior. This is the book. I didn't know this book was coming with it. Maybe I just didn't pay attention when I ordered the book. I was more interested in seeing what Perfect 10 was about. There's a lot of just different, character pinups and stuff done by different artists. I'm not familiar with these characters, so it kind of takes away a little bit of the enjoyment for me, because I don't know who these characters are. But I thought it was really nice to get something a little extra, especially since you're only paying I think about $10 or $15. Actually, let me see here. I think I have a tab up. Actually, it may be closed now. Yeah, it looks like the campaign is done, which is too bad. But it's you could probably still find the book. Maybe you'll see it on the secondary market at on eBay or something. Um, I think the Perfect 10 book was really good. I think most people would find it pretty enjoyable. Like I said, the art's really nice. The color is slick. The story's good. Like I said, it's reminiscent of Top Cow's Aphrodite 9. Um, I just for the money, like I said, especially with money being tight right now, maybe don't do a lot of pinups. It's great if you do a pull-out pinup or you offer a poster or something with a book. I would have just enjoyed 4 more pages or 5 more pages, whatever it was, of a story, because I did find the story very interesting. So if you can find it anywhere, Perfect 10, definitely an interesting book. Now these books kind of surprised me. I think I showed them off before. I hadn't read them at that time, so I couldn't really talk about them. I hate the bags that have the adhesive on the back. But Mary Boys #1 from Proper Comics, created by Carl Stefan, and I really love this book because it has very interesting art. And this is like a European book, so this art might be pretty common in European books, but I don't see it as much in, say, American comics. But I love the black and white with the like kind of ink wash look to it. It's very good, and the art goes from being kind of cartoonish um, to sometimes it becomes very kind of realistic. I don't want to say it's like photorealistic. It's not, but I think it's very realistic for a comic. And I got both issues. I thought it was going to be only one book, but it's actually 2 books. And Carl Stefan did this one as well. Superb story. This one kind of talks a little bit about like mega superstores, like say Walmart, and this one is a little bit about I know it's a touchy subject, especially for a comic book, but like abortion, pro-life, pro-choice, but I didn't mind it. It didn't take away from the story. It was kind of reminiscent of what I would expect from, like, say, Caliber Press back in the day. I could only imagine the Mary Boys drawn by James O'Barr. Wouldn't that be awesome? But that's who I remember the most from Caliber. That's it for the comic books I've read. Let me get a little drink here, guys. So I wanted to talk about a couple of books I just got. I just got this in the mail a couple days ago. I saw Dan Fraga talking about it, and as soon as I seen it, I ordered it. It's about $40. It's the fantastic paintings of Frazetta. I'm a huge Frazetta fan. It's a nice coffee table format. This thing is big, so you really get to see his art. Let's open it up. What the heck? We'll do an opening, because I haven't, I don't know what exactly is all on the inside of it. I think they said, like Fraga said, that it was, or maybe I read it on Amazon. Some of like the step-by-step work of Frazetta, would show you different things. Or like, oh, this is awesome, man! Look at this. Death Dealer, one of my all-time favorite characters. Look at that. And then it shows, I guess this is places where this image was used a few times. I think it's been used a ton more than just 2, but So this thing is gorgeous. I mean, the artwork is, of course, beautiful. It's Frazetta, the master of fantasy art. And the reason I also like Frazetta is because Frazetta started out as a comic book artist, or a comic strip artist, I should say. I believe he worked on Little Abner, and then went on to do comic books with the likes of like L. Williamson. So I love that aspect of it. And then, of course, it's just his paintings are gorgeous, you know. So yeah, if you have an extra $40 and you like fantasy artwork and you're a fan of Frazetta, this book is awesome. $40 on Amazon. Get him his books. These books, like for him, usually sell out pretty quickly. They go out of print, and then you end up having to go to eBay and spending a lot of money. So, all right, a little bit different from Frazetta. I can show Frazetta because it is connected to comic books, but he's mostly known for his fantasy artwork. So I wanted to talk about. I'm a big horror fan. I don't know if I've ever said that on stream or not. I love horror novels. I love horror movies. I probably drive my wife crazy because that's pretty much predominantly what I watch. If I'm not watching, say, I do like the superhero movies from like Marvel and DC and stuff like that. I'm actually looking forward to a TV show that's coming out on HBO, I think this Sunday, called Lovecraft Country. So that looks really good. So this is a book I just read. It's called Eternity by Nasser Rabadi. Um, an easy read. It's not too thick. It's only 212 pages of story. It's really good. I likened it to a little bit of, I used to be a huge John Saul fan, and I read John Saul from his beginning books up to his last book, whatever that was. I don't think he's actually professionally writing anymore. At least I haven't been able to see any of his books. I felt the style of this book was akin to some very early John Saul. The protagonists in it are all teenagers. They're high school students. And I'll even read a little bit of the back here. It says, high school bullies shove a spoonful of dirt into Brandon Morelli's mouth, replace his sack lunch with a sack of gym socks, and that's only the start of it. Beaten by bullies at school and tortured by his parents at home, Brandon dreams of an escape when King Solomon appears and offers him eternal paradise, but it comes with a cost. And this book was really good. I really enjoyed it. The only detraction from it, I would say, is that it could have been edited better. I've talked to the author, Nasser Rabadi. I told him, I said, I love the book. Unfortunately, though, it looks like there's some areas where you wrote a sentence, you went back and changed the sentence, but then you left some of the old sentence still there. And then, spelling errors, which, are becoming more and more common in books anyways. But other than that, I think it's a really good read. And it was good enough for me to buy Inner Demons, the sequel to Eternity by Nasser Rabadi. Now, I haven't read this one yet. I just got this a little while ago. I got a stack of books I'm trying to go through. This one will be probably the next book I start, but I'll read a little bit about it. Whistler County has been locked up for 4 years. Brandon Morelli has been trapped along with his journal, but now his journal has found its way into the hands of 4 young women: Kelsey, Piper, Cora, and Amanda. Each have their own reasons for sneaking into Whistler County, but what awaits them is far darker than anything they could have imagined. Now, Whistler County is where, of course, the first book, Eternity, takes place. At the end of the story, things happen to where they lock down the whole county, is basically isolated from the rest of the world. So I'm very interested to see where this book goes. So I don't know if Nasser has any more books planned for this series. I hope so. Like I said, I enjoy Eternity. I expect I'm going to enjoy this one. Only time will tell, though. I'll try to read it hopefully sometime this weekend, maybe early in the next week. Okay, let me stop sharing my beautiful mug, and then I want to share my screen here because there's a few things I want to show you guys and gals. And I want to share audio, of course. Entire screen. Share. Why isn't it doing the application window? There we go. Share it. All right. So this is in Photoshop. Now I've talked about this before. I'm working on my own comic book. It's called Devilish Deals. It's basically teenagers it's 3-story anthology of these young characters in their young teen years, who have problems or want their life to change in some way, and lo and behold, they run into the devil. And each story takes place in a different time period, which I think is going to be really fun to play around with. And it's really about being innocent and maybe not knowing what's going on around you, the choices that you make, and the effects that they can have on your life. And that really is what I wrote the first story to reflect. The first story is Milo's Folly, and I'll show you these pages. There's a couple of pages. They were drawn by Jason Johnson. He's going to be illustrating the first 14-page story written by me. This is Milo as an old man, and he knows his time is coming soon, so he's sitting down and he's kind of writing out his thoughts. He's writing out what happened, and that will be when we flash back to when Milo is young, which is most of the story. Really is Milo being young, countering the devil, not really understanding he's making a deal, and definitely not understanding what the cost of that deal would be. It's horror because of the devil, and also the horror of the situation that Milo ends up in. But I wrote it also to be very emotional, very kind of dramatic. I wanted it to be more than just a simple comic book story. And I was really blessed to get Jason Johnson, who's one of, if you've watched any of my videos, you know, I'm a huge Wildstorm fan from back in the days of Image. And he was one of my favorite artists in Wildstorm. So here's the first page. Like I said, it's a splash showing Milo kind of writing down things that happened. And then, I don't know if I've shared this before, but this is the colored version of the page. This was done by Ian Hanning, who I also know from a lot of his Image work, mostly working with Brian Heberlin's Studio Avalon. His comic books, I remember he colored over, I think, Clayton Henry, his very early work. I think maybe one of his first professional works in mainstream comics, as well as coloring over Jay Anacleto, who is an amazing artist. And I just love the colors that he does. I mean, it's just, it really brings it to life for me. So that's page 1. I'll share page 2 with you. Now Jason's drawing all these digitally. I wish they were traditional. I would love to have these like in a physical form, just for the sake of saying, wow, you know, I put together this 14-page story for this anthology, and look at this artwork, you know. But this is Milo when he's young. He's growing up rural in the 1940s, 50s. The story itself feels a little bit older than that time period, but I don't know. I just kind of, I place him in like the 40s and 50s. That's the way I wrote the story. There's not a lot of references to that time period. It's more just, I want to tell Milo's story. I'm not worried about, you know, current politics or social issues of the 40s, early 50s. So that's Milo walking on a rural road. And then Ian Hanning came in, laid down his colors. I love the streaks of the sunlight through the leaves. I think that's beautiful. The coloring that he does for Milo is great. You know, walking in the sun, coming into the shadow, then, you know, more sunlight. I think, Ian is just a master at what he does, and I'm so blessed to have him on this. This is page 3. This is Milo still walking in the shadowy figure by the tree, and this is the way my devil looks. I'm not sure if, like in the other 2 stories, do I want to change his appearances. Um, the way he's dressed here, I consider to be older than the time period, so I'm kind of thinking keep that look so that he always stands out, and that he's kind of the main character of the story. He's the antagonist that's going to be in each story. So I think with him having an established look like this, I think it'll be beneficial for the book, and so there's no confusion, because I think hopefully there won't be any confusion with 3 stories. They're not going to run just right into each other. It's like Milo's story is going to end, boom, the new story with the new protagonist starts. The antagonist is going to be the devil, and then boom, that one stops, and then boom, there's the new story with a new protagonist, and the devil. And like you said, this is probably like late 40s, early 50s is what I was thinking about it. And then I'm thinking the second story would be great to do like a 70s, in the 70s, because that's the era that I grew up. I was born in the early 70s, so I do remember a little bit about the 70s and the horrible fashions we had. So we'll see how that goes. And then I was thinking maybe 80s or 90s, probably the 90s, to do the third and final story of the book. And then if all goes well with this book being crowdfunded, then the next story will actually take place in modern time, and it'll actually be a full one story. Will be the whole book. It'll be a 48-page story. I just broke this up into 3s just because for me, it's right now, as I'm learning to write comics, it's easier for me to do like a 14-page story, and then like maybe a 16-page story, and then like a 14-page story, whatever is going to add up to 48 pages. And it's going to be just 48 pages of stories, 3 separate stories, but I'm not going to fill the book up with pinups or posters or anything like that. It's like, if people back this, I want them to get, just story. That's what I want you to have, story. And then let's see here. I think the color version by, once again, Ian does a beautiful job with the coloring. Makes it all look pretty. This one really shows, I think, the best is because my devil character, I can kind of consider him kind of like almost like the Slender Man in build. He's very tall, very thin and lanky. And so he's going to tower over these kids, because he's probably, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the Slender Man would be, but like say like in the high 6 foot, maybe 7 foot range. So he's going to be an imposing figure. I love the coloring on the ground here and everything like that. So Jason and Ian are doing a great job. It's just going very slowly because I am paying for this book out of my own pocket. My goal is to have the first story drawn and colored, the first 14 pages drawn and colored, lettered, probably colored, and then I'll worry about lettering a little bit later before I launch an Indiegogo campaign. The book is going to be, like I said, it'll be roughly 48 pages. Well, it should be 48 pages but it's just going to be 3 stories. And then like I said, if that does well, then the next book will be an actual 48 page of one story. And I have ideas for that I've written down, and I think it's going to be a really wild ride if we get to that part. It's just really, like I said, it's difficult because I'm paying for this out of pocket, and I don't want to pull the trigger on doing an Indiegogo campaign too early, because Jason, is doing other things. Ian's doing other things. I have to have the money to pay Jason and Ian. So right now things have kind of slowed down a little bit. I think I have a total of 6 pages by Jason, and then 3 pages are colored, plus the cover by Ian. Um, I'm hoping to get all 14 pages done probably by early next year, January, February timeframe. And then I'll probably let things kind of cool down a little bit because everybody's recovering from all the Christmas buying and everything like that. So probably, hopefully March or April, I think would be a good time to launch the campaign. I do need to kind of hustle a little bit and get myself not only doing more live streams or streams here, but also trying to get on other people's channels so I can talk about the books. I've been on Oz Art Creations channel, but it's not really set up as a format to really kind of discuss comics too much. There's usually a lot of things going on, and Oz, who I've thanked, many times for allowing me to be on his show, usually lets a good number of people be on there. Like 6, 7, 8 people, and everybody's talking. It gets kind of chaotic, so it's not the best place to, I guess, to promote a comic. I think he would be willing to kind of set time aside to do something like promote a comic. I think he has already. But I'm looking to kind of branch out. I want to be able to get on other people's streams. I want to build up my channel so I can have people on my channel and promote. That's what it's all about, especially if you're, crowdfunding is going to get really crazy in the next couple of years, especially with the news that's hitting DC right now. A lot of people are saying, no, 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 no. The comic book industry's fine. The comic books industry's fine. And while they're telling you that, they got buckets in their hand and they're trying to put the water over the side that's coming in, filling up the ship that's sinking. So I think we're gonna see a lot of those people realize, oh wow, I just socially and politically agendaed myself out of a job, and they're gonna find their way to crowdfunding. Right now, it looks like a lot of creators who are coming from mainstream comics are going to Kickstarter. Indiegogo is kind of the no-no land to the SJW Puritans because Indiegogo doesn't gatekeep. Creators can be on there whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, a liberal, conservative, if you're black, white, Asian, Muslim, Christian, Catholic, bi, trans, gay, doesn't matter to them. I'm sure they have things that they won't put on their platform, but they're not gatekeeping just because, like, oh well, we heard you're a Republican, we don't want you here, like Kickstarter has done in the past. So I definitely want to do the Indiegogo route. So hopefully they'll all crowd over at Kickstarter, and Indiegogo will be a place for a few mainstream artists. There's big names out there like Ethan Van Sciver and John Malin and Dan Fraga and Shane Davis and a few others. That's one of them I really like. Kenneth Rockerfort is supposedly doing something. I'm a huge fan of Kenneth Rockerfort. So you got these big mainstream pros that have left the mainstream or were forced out of the mainstream on Indiegogo, but you also have a ton of new creators who are doing their first book, where they're they're writing their first book, or they're drawing their first book, or maybe they've done a little bit of work here but never got really noticed. Now they're over in the crowdfunding scene. So I'm kind of nervous, man. It's like, I'm putting money into this. I found an artist that I like. Jason is great. I know I'm probably not going to be able to have Jason do the other 2 stories. What I want to do is the first story with Milo's Folly will be mine, drawn by Jason, colored by Ian. And then the second story, I would love to be able to hire another writer, say, here, write a 14 to 16 page story. Uh, here's the kind of like the plot idea I have for it, the 1970s. The protagonist, was having some kind of trouble in their life, whatever it may be, whether it's a real problem or just a perceived problem or whatever, and they meet the devil, and it goes from there, and then hire a different artist. If they can do the penciling and the inking, or if they can do the all of it, all of the artwork, that's great. Doesn't matter to me. I just want to find good people who want to put their heart into this book, because this is important to me. This is my kind of coming out to the crowdfunding scene and saying, hey, listen, I have an idea. Boy, it would be great if you would get behind this idea with me. So we'll see. I don't want to keep on talking about it, but then the third story, though, would have a different writer and artist team, whatever, etc. You get the point. Oh, sorry, my throat gets so dry when I'm talking. I don't talk a lot in my day, and then I come on and try to do these things. Well, on my intro, I always say that I'm an aspiring comic book writer. I'm a digital inker and a fan of comics. But I've never shown anybody my digital inking, I don't think. I may have. I don't know. Here's two pieces, though, that I've done. This one was drawn by Randy Green, and I think it's based off of a Image comic book that was drawn by Donald DeLay. And Donald DeLay, of course, is supposedly doing Brutus the Badass. He's doing Cecil's Cash Grab book. I think he's working on another project, his own creator-owned kind of project thing. So I think that's the book this was based off of. But then I saw Randy Green did some pencils, so they were simple, easy. I usually do these kind of as a warm-up. I don't use Photoshop, though. I use Clip Studio Paint when I digitally ink. I just find the tools there are just a lot more helpful. And then I think this was a cover from a new X-Men book, also by Randy Green, that I inked up. I really enjoyed this. Not as much as the Cupid one. I had a lot more fun with the Cupid one. But I did like doing this. This was interesting to do, like the building and kind of the filigree and stuff on it to make it look, like it was a, prestigious old building. I don't know what exactly this building or where it's at, but, I just find these images on online. It's really hard. It stinks because, there used to be a time where you could approach a creator and say, hey, I would really, really, really like to ink your work. Do you have any pencils that you could scan and send me? And people would do that. Some big name artists would do that. And then what happened is that a lot of the people who would get the artwork, they would ink it, and then they would try to sell it. And that, of course, upsets the artist, because most of the time when you approach artists, these people are just saying, hey, I'm inking for this for fun, or maybe it might go in my portfolio. But yeah, that's all I'm going to do with it. And then next thing you know, I'm sure their friends are telling them, hey, there's this picture on eBay for sale, it says you drew it, look, check it out. So now, a lot of professional artists will not give you pencils to work over, just because they don't want to be ripped off. And I understand that. So most of the stuff that I work on is, oh, hey, Miguel Ramirez. Wow, you're the first person to ever post in the chat for my channel. I thank you very much. Which page did you like? What was the great page? Let me know. I'll bring it back up again. I'm glad you liked something. I don't know if it was my little stupid digital inking, or if it was one of the pages by Jason and Ian. But thank you for that. Wow, it's I actually have 2 people watching. Well, that's probably a record for me. So, but yeah, Miguel, definitely, if you're still here, let me know what page you liked. I'll put it back up again. It was. I'm glad you liked it. But anyways, with digital inking, it really stinks because artists, they want hard copies of the work. They want something to sell. So a lot of artists will either mostly will draw digitally, print it up, and then ink it so that they actually have something they can sell. It's very hard as a digital inker to get work because you don't get that something extra to sell. It's like, so, even if you're working for DC or Marvel and you get paid and you're like thinking, okay, I got that page rate, that's great, but then I can take this piece of art and sell it to my fans. The last page you showed, okay, well, let me see if I can find the last page I showed. Was that for the Devilish Dills, my story? Let me know and I'll put it back up for you so we can show it again. But yeah, so it's hard to digitally ink and get work, and then a lot of people, they want to approach you and they're like, hey, yeah, I'd love you to ink my book or whatever, but it's like I can't pay you up front. I got to pay you at the back end. Okay, let me see. Let me share screen again. Share audio application window. We want Photoshop. Let's share that. And then you said I think the last page of Milo's Folly. So let's get a little closer look at it. Yeah, I'm really glad you like it. I love Jason's work. Like I said, I wish this was traditional. I think he works I want to say he works in Photoshop, but I like the way like he was able to, I don't know if it's a custom brush that he has. He did all the kind of texturing of the leaves and stuff. So, it's bush, like brush or bushes. Um, I like even the way that Ian does a lot of the gradient coloring. Very reminiscent of like what I think of when I think about the Image Days and Wildstorm and stuff. And then we got the trees over here. I like the way they did the shadowing. Makes it really pop out from the brown of the tree. You've got a few little flowers here to make it look nice, and then you got this ominous silhouetted figure here. We know that it can only mean trouble. And then when you get the closer look of how like the brush that Ian used to color to kind of give detail to like all these different leaves and things there, and then he kind of kept it pretty simple on the leaves, the bigger leaves in the trees. And I really love Ian's style approach to coloring. I used to color way back in the day. I had a friend of mine, Drew Posada, who was a very wonderful artist. He worked with Rob Liefeld back in the early days of Image. I think it was Extreme Studios, and then he did work for, I think he even inked Jim Lee in an issue, a couple pages here and there for a couple issues of Wildcats. And then he did colored Mark Silvestri. Hope I didn't say ink Jim Lee. Colored Jim Lee. Colored Mark Silvestri in a Cyber Force book, a couple of pages. And then he really came to fame. And if you love good comic books, I'll tell you, it's called The 10th Black Embrace. And it was I want to say a 6-issue miniseries that was written and drawn by Tony Daniel, who's now probably more known for his Batman work. And Drew did the coloring for the whole book, and it is amazing. Drew brought in so much like realism to it, to where it still fit into a comic book, but it was just, I think, some of the most realistic coloring I've seen even to today. Unfortunately, I think 2007 or 2008, Drew passed away. I only knew him for a year and a half, maybe 2 years. of his final days, and he was such a nice guy. I would talk to him almost at least once a week. It seemed I would talk to him. He'd call me, or I'd call him, and he would give me like coloring advice and all this stuff. And I used to color stuff. And after he passed away, it broke my heart. And I stopped coloring, and I decided to go into digital inking, and I started in Adobe Illustrator, which is definitely not a great program when it comes to digital inking, but I thought it was better than actually inking in Photoshop. Look at the textures that they add to the ground, with Jason's inking, and then we're drawing and inking, and then Ian's coloring, and just the way things pick up the colors, so you get like the tans to like the darker kind of brown shadows, and then the cooler shadows cast by the trees. And then there's our villain. That's the devil, and he's not a nice guy, of course. So hopefully, like I said, I'm thinking about doing a mailing list, sign up kind of thing on Indiegogo, and I'll offer something exclusive. Like everybody seems to like trading cards right now, so maybe a trading card of the devil if you join the mailing list and actually buy the book when it's being offered up on the campaign. And then I would like to do 3 other cards for the 3 protagonists that are in the 3 stories of the anthology. I think that would be really cool, because then you would get a 48-page book, contains 3 complete stories, and then boom, you got like 4 trading cards for each of the protagonists, and then the antagonist, the devil. I think that would be great. So I'm hoping that gets kicked off pretty soon. Miguel, I don't know. I mean, I just like artists. I don't really delve into much where they come from. Um, Actually, I have a piece of artwork, because I also like to buy original art. I don't have deep pockets, so it's pretty limited to what I can get. But I don't know if you know Ardian Syaf. I think he lives in Indonesia. Um, he actually did a wonderful Death Blow piece for me. Death Blow, if you don't know, is a character Jim Lee created back for the Image days. Um, it was heavily inspired by Jim's love of Frank Miller's artwork. He did the first 2 issues, and then he did covers for like the first 12, and Tim Sells took over. And Ardian Syaf actually did a beautiful piece. I want to get it scanned. I have to get it scanned so I can kind of show it off maybe in another stream, because I like sharing comic book artwork with people, because I think it's totally underappreciated. If you have Miguel, if you have an artist that that's from Argentina, let me know the name, and I'll research the artist. And if I like their artwork, I'll actually next stream I'll make sure to have a few images from that artist, and to kind of show them off a little bit. I'm a small channel, as I said. You're one of two people that's actually watching the video live, but I usually do get maybe 10 to 15 views once the video is uploaded onto YouTube. So yeah, if you Eduardo Rizzo, awesome artist. He kicks ass. I loved 100 Bullets. I loved his work. He did a couple of stories for Batman that were awesome. And then I know he's doing a werewolf story. I think it might be through Image. I'm not sure. But his artwork is beautiful. I love his minimalistic style. He reminds me kind of a little bit like Tim Sells, but definitely just his own touch. Max Fiumera. I want to say I've heard that name. I don't know anything about that Max. But yeah, for some reason it does sound familiar. So I'll have to, like, you know what? I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to write it down, the name down, and I'll do a little research on it. And maybe my next video will be Eduardo Rizzo and maybe some Max Fimera. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Maybe some artwork by him. Because I'm always looking for things to stream about or do videos about. But yeah, no, definitely Eduardo Rizzo. I know he is awesome. So yeah, definitely those are. Actually, I actually have, I think somewhere. I might have to look around a little bit for it. I actually have some work that I think Eduardo did for an Argentine comic book company. I want to say it was kind of a Western style, like a Western story. Um, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure about that. I'll have to find the book. I know it's not in English, which I don't mind. I love comics more for the art, I guess, than someone called me an art whore one time because he was a writer, and I was just like, well, I love the artwork. And oh, you're one of those art whores, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. Moonshine, that's it. Moonshine, you got it, Miguel. Oh man, that is I've kind of fallen back a little bit on it. I think I have the first 6 or 7 issues. Um, I just I actually found out about Eduardo through I was watching Moonshine, though. Moonshine's not really Western style. That's more is that more during like the 1920s Prohibition era kind of thing? Because it has werewolves and stuff, and I know they have cars and things like that. So I want to say it's like the 1920s or 30s. I'll have to go back and look at the book. I have it on my iPad actually, which is charging. But yeah, I actually heard about Eduardo Rizzo. It's a funny story. I actually was at the San Diego Comic Con. I lived in San Diego for about 27 years, and I've attended the Comic Con for maybe about 15 years, kind of almost in a row. And I actually met Adam Warren, who no problem, Miguel, no problem, man. I'm glad you remembered more about it than I did. You got Moonshine. Yeah, I just couldn't think of the title, but I got to talk with Adam Warren because I was a huge fan of his Dirty Pair books. And then this was before he did started doing his own book called Empower. I think it's Empower, We're Empowered, which is awesome books. Definitely recommend them. They're black and white, kind of manga style, but American, of course. And I was talking with him, and I was saying how much I liked the way he drew the dirty pair girls, and and he's like, yeah, it's like I tend to draw them like now. At that time, he's like, I kind of draw them, with kind of like these big pouty, puffy lips. And I was like, dude, yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And he's like, yeah, if you love that, here's this guy, Eduardo Rizzo. He's like, he does, those voluptuous big lips better than I do, bigger and better. And I said, okay, I got to check him out. And so I read, I think I read pretty much every issue of 100 Bullets. It's been a while, though. I think I was like reading them when they were actually coming out. And I was just blown away by his artwork. I think he's a phenomenal artist. And then he did a 6-issue Batman story that had like Killer Croc in it. And like Killer Croc was like, oh, I just got my teeth fixed. Look how nice they are. And like, bam, Batman punches him and they're these jagged mess. And so definitely, yeah, Eduardo Rizzo, awesome comic book artist. I would recommend, if you do like different artists from different countries, like I said, Ardian Syaf. He worked at DC and Marvel. Yeah, I think he's a really good artist. And then, it's hard, man. It's just hard because I don't, a lot of people today, they dig into everybody's like history, like are they political, what's their political party stuff, where are they from, what is this and that. But Mike Diodato Jr. Is another great artist. I loved when he was drawing the Hulk. He made the Hulk look ginormous, man. I mean, he made the Hulk look like the Hulk, and I think him, Del Keown, and John Byrne are probably my three favorite Hulk artists, and right below John Byrne would probably be Sal Buscema. But yeah, Mike Diodato Jr. I love his artwork. Like I said, though, it's like I don't care where the artist is from. It's like the artist just has to have good artwork. They have to be able to tell the story. I don't know how to pronounce his first name. I want to say Kari Andrews. He did Spider-Man: The End. He did. Oh, my phone's going off, but I'm going to ignore it. He did Spider-Man: The End, and then he did Iron Fist, and then he's done other things. Like he did his own project from Image that went through Image. That was awesome. It was a billionaire who was like killing billionaires because they were like pedophiles and into sex trafficking and drugs and stuff. And then he's also a director. He actually directs Cabin Fever Zero. He did a movie called Altitude. And then he did a short story for, what is it, the Alphabet of Death or Deaths of Alphabets or whatever. Like each story, like they were just short little stories, like little movies that went with the letter of the alphabet. And I know he did. Yeah, I know. Ring, ring, ring. Yeah. And for some reason, it wouldn't let me ignore the call. I don't know why, but whatever. But yeah. So yeah, his artwork. I love his artwork. Jorge Jimenez. I think right now is probably one of my favorite mainstream comic book artists. I don't really delve too much into the mainstream books right now, but I pretty much buy everything that Jorge does because he is a phenomenal artist. He does his work digitally, and like I've seen his stuff on the Justice League. I thought that was great, and then now he's doing Batman. He's doing the big Joker storyline right now, whatever it is. I don't know where he's from. I also like Aaron Alfici, who did Jawbreaker's God King. He's doing Jawbreaker's Grand Bazaar, and then he's also doing Graveyard Shift over on John Malin's side of things. I hope he doesn't leave your boy Zach or Richard Meyer, however they want to address him, because his work on the stuff that I've seen on Grand Bazaar looks just out of this world. So, yeah. So for me, it's like like I said, I don't care where the artist comes from. I just, I have to just like their artwork. And there's a lot of artists out there that aren't recognized, like Rob Willis, who's doing Shinobi Sasquatch, which is still in demand on Indiegogo. He just did a cover for Dan Frega's Black Flag, Pineapple Perception, and then he's doing a story for a Graveyard Shift written by John Malin. his stuff's phenomenal. I mean, he reminds me so much like his the cover that they just showed with Frega's Black Flag. You know, to look at his artwork, I was just like, dude, that's Stephen, like Stephen Platt level, who's another artist I used to love back in the day, Stephen Platt level. But yeah, there's artists out there, and I don't really care where they come from. You know, it's like if they have a style I like. I know once I get these 14 pages done with Jason and Ian, and I start the crowdfunding on Indiegogo for Devilish deals. Um, you know, I'm going to be looking for writers. I'm going to be looking for artists, and you know, honestly, like I said, it's like I don't really care where they come from or what their beliefs or opinions are or whatever. It's just like I just want this book to just be the best it could be. So, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. April, you know, March, April is kind of a little bit of ways away. So we'll see how things work out. So I'm going to wrap up this stream. I thank Miguel. I thank you for being here. I thank you for being the first person that's ever chatted on a live stream with me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you know, hit the like button, subscribe, share it out to people. If you know people who might find this kind of content interesting. You know, my channel is kind of boring. It's like I don't like drama. I don't do you know, blood sports or he says she says excuse me, bullshit. But you know, I want to do more live streams showing off comics that I've read and what I think of them. And then I'm also thinking about doing some digital inking videos. I have a bunch of them in my library, but I've never done one as a live stream. So I'm kind of thinking somewhere down the line I might want to do that just for the fun of it, to see how it goes. But so I'm going to end the stream. I thank you, Miguel, for being here, and I thank anybody who comes in and watches the video later. I appreciate it. Please share the word out if you know people who are just want to have fun talking about comics. Once the channel grows a little bit and I start getting more viewers, I'll start inviting people in to come in and talk with me, so they can promote their projects or books, or we're just bullshit about comics, or you know, the industry and where things are going. So I thank everybody. I hope everyone has a great Tuesday or Wednesday, I guess, if you're in Australia or whatever. But I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully I'll get another one up here in a week. Yeah, thanks a lot, Miguel. I appreciate you. Thanks for chatting. All right, take care. Bye-bye.